wanna know, is it worth it? Trying to get this right, trying to get this right. I know I should love you. You're always feeding me lies, always feeding me lies. Now I stayed home waiting. Ain't nothing on the TV, on the TV. I don't want your past possessions. I want you here with me. Ooh, I wanna let you know I'm not just for show. Either you let me go or give me love. When I tell you we're about to get all up and through a little film titled School Daze, let's go. Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss School Daze. Now, this movie is from 1988 and it stars Larry Fishburne and Spike Lee. Now, before we get into all things wannabes and jigaboos, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, then we're going to come back and discuss Pick a Nanny, Barbie Doll, High Yellow Heifer, Wanna Be White, Jigaboo, Don't Start, We're Gonna Finish It. Riri, open up!
Go back.
Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this movie. But before we jump into the video, I have to give a shout out to the person who paid for and requested this film. So if you happen to whoop, daddy long stroke, it can't stroke it, ow, daddy long stroke. It's not because of me, it's because of this person right here. Thank you so much for supporting me and paying for this content. Now, getting into this movie was directed, written, and produced all by Spike Lee. Believe it or not, outside of a student film, this is low-key only his second movie after She's Gotta Have It. Magnificent. Spike Lee, being a Morehouse graduate himself, centered this movie around his very own college experience. Really young here at the time that he did do this film, but you really get a strong perspective of who he is as a writer, a director, just a downright visionary, and the passion that he has for film. This is probably my favorite movie from him, next to Do the Right Thing. Watching this movie way younger than I ever should have, this was the first time my young ears ever heard anybody mention HBCU or even really display a Black college experience. Outside of A Different World, that Spike has gone on record to say my movie was presented and came out first, and Bill Cosby stole a whole lot of my ideas and concepts from this movie, which is why we have the same casting director from A Different World on this film. And getting into A Different World, we see Kadeem Hardison, we see Jasmine Guy, you know, we see Julian, we see so many familiar faces, Daryl Bell, from the A Different World show. But outside of the show, you really see the strong influence that School Daze has. You see a little bit of the movie in every single Black college film adaptation that we have had thus far. And that's because this movie was just that far ahead of its time in the themes that Spike Lee wanted to speak on. Brotherhood, apartheid, divesting, stepping, pro-Black. Those were a lot of terms that I just was not familiar with outside of this and, you know, A Different World, but we know where they got it from. And not just to say that this is just absolutely the blueprint, because a lot of people do share some of the same Black college or just college experiences, period. But the way that Spike had them on display here, you know, we can talk about them behind closed doors, but to put these things in a film were just not done at the time. In '88, we are discussing colorism, texturism, classism, elitism, societal norms, group thinking, peer pressure. These things were just not happening in those days. But Spike Lee gave these things a stage, a name, and a platform in '88. You know, he was the favorite term that we love to throw around now. He been woke. He was woke. He was never sleep. And even outside of the colorism and the elitism, just the platform that we have here to discuss fraternities, sororities, and some of the horrible problematic things that can occur when someone decides to pledge. Outside of the comedic films, your Animal House, Old School, Revenge of the Nerds, and then we have the more horror takes as far as frats and just pledging and things like that. I've only seen 2 other films outside of this one that shine a light on it at all, and these hazing tactics going beyond proving yourself, you know, your endurance, loyalty, your strength, your commitment, protection, and these lifelong brotherhoods that are promised, and we are getting more into physical harm, abuse, embarrassment, humiliation rituals, judgment, power trips, exploitation, and even deaths. A lot of people have lost their freaking lives and nobody talks about it. People are getting slaps on the wrist, not found liable. The student that has lost their life is just a mere casualty. I would absolutely love if we got a real, you know, documentary, something tangible to really break things down for us as far as sororities and fraternities and the history dating all the way back to the 1700s, you know, the connections and the philosophy that came from that white Freemason. And, you know, the oaths, the secrecy, the mottos, those letters, the handshakes, you know, the Greek gods that are assigned to some houses, and you know, the worshiping the Greek god and it's a false god, just all of the connections to be made as to how we can get here and how a lot of these things are even plausible or passed down for traditions because of the secrecy that comes with pledging and the brotherhood and the bond. And you know, we only communicate amongst each other. Basically what goes on in this house stays in this house. We have to take things for face value, and if we do that, that's pledging, leading to not only lifelong bonds and connections, but you know, leadership, opportunity, privilege, all things good.
This earthly heart is gonna soon decay.
And my soul's gotta have somewhere to say.
When you hear me praying.
I love the opening. I love the opening and the photos and the whole montage we got of just history, you know, where we were versus where we are now in this movie. We are starting off coming on the ship, you know, slaves jam-packed in. We are moving from slavery all the way up to us now attending our very own HBCU. And we get into Dap, a very young Laurence Fishburne here. Dap is one of the many students here at Mission College. He is pro-black, opinionated, an activist, conscious, and throughout the entire film, he wants nothing more than for his college to divest from South Africa. Dap is constantly rallying up as many students as he can, along with his friends, to advocate for the racial segregation that is currently happening in Africa. Child, Dap said apartheid had been taking place since the late 70s. Child, it's 88. Why have we not divested yet? He is willing to devote every single ounce of his time to give speeches, protesting, rally the folks up, even if I have to be expelled, because I'm that devoted. And this was really the first time outside of his gripes with, you know, the lighter skinned wannabes on campus that I noticed just how problematic Dap was all on his own outside of everybody else. When I tell you Dap walked so fudge and higher learning could run, Dap is often super duper judgmental of everybody around him, especially when it comes to the people who are the closest to him. Outside of those wannabes, Rachel can get it, his immediate friends group can get it, his cousin Halfpipe can get it, if they are not as equally devoted to the cause as he is. Dap considers you a lost cause, a stray, a sellout. He is so passionate and gets so frustrated at, you know, the people surrounding him not seeing the bigger picture that he comes off as thinking that he is superior and more forward thinking than everybody else. Now, even though we have the immaculate directing and writing being brought to us by Spike Lee, we have the even better scoring and majority of the soundtrack here being done by his father, Billy. Every single score here was rocking. And we have the fantastic cinematography here in this film from Ernest R. Dickerson, who he has worked with multiple times on multiple films, from She's Gotta Have It, To Do the Right Thing, to Malcolm X. This movie is still carried so much further by the amazing actors here. The strong, theatrical, classically trained Laurence Fishburne and Giancarlo Esposito. Like, wow. Just to see how strong and present they are here with these early film roles, they carry a whole lot of this movie. And you can totally see why Spike Lee would break his neck to try to use them yet again and Do the Right Thing, Esposito to be bugging out, and Radio Raheem was supposed to be portrayed by Laurence Fishburne, but he turned down the role. Oh, that would have been different. But that feels like nobody is more lost than Julian, or should I say Dean Big Brother Almighty of Gamma Phi Gamma fraternity, whose only concern is to rule over the fellow pledges with an iron fist. Along with his fellow frat brothers, he basks in his position, his authority. Worship me, follow me, obey me, and prove yourself to be worthy of this fraternity. Julian's entire mission in this movie is to belittle, break, and discard whoever he perceives to be a weak link and unworthy to be a Gamma man. G5G, that's what we want to be. G5G, that's what we want to be. G5G, that's what we want to be. Bow, wow, wow, wow. Being led on those freaking dog chains, we find out that they have been online pledging for all of 6 weeks and may not be worthy to go over. Nobody is coming up shorter in Julian's mind than Shorty, or should I say Half Pint, aka Spike Lee, because not only is he short, but we are testing his manhood because he's a virgin. And I bet you ain't smelt no parts of the pussy. Like, I can't even say half of the stuff that they say in this movie, even though it is serious and we have, you know, hazing going on and all of this peer pressure. It is comical. Make my funk the P-funk. I wanna get funked up. Like, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Getting into Half Pint, him not being considered Gamma material or just less of a man overall because he is still a virgin is problematic on its own. You know, we are about to go over soon. You won't even be a contender unless you find a freak tonight. I think it really drives home the message that Spike Lee was trying to do with this film. Not only getting into, you know, his college years, but I believe he lost a friend due to hazing or him pledging a fraternity, and he wanted to tie that in. The whole aspect of Shorty Half Pint being such a willing contender to want to be a Gamma man really ties in, you know, fraternities, well, some fraternities in actual real life street gang life. There are so many similarities. For so much of the movie, Half Pint along with some of the other pledges seem absolutely brainwashed throughout this movie. Even getting into Dap and how he feels about Julian, or how people change once they become pledges. Julian comes off as, you know, that guy who was kind of beeline in high school, maybe didn't, you know, get a whole lot of girls, a whole lot of play, just any attention at all. And now that we finally are getting some as a Gamma man, we are taking it and we are running away with it. Now, I don't know which one of you will cross the burning sands to the oasis of Gamma Phi Gamma. Like, sir, shut up! But you have Half Pint along with the other pledges looking up to this as, you know, something to aspire. I too can have what Julian has. Show us that you belong here and you are worthy. Prove yourself. Very much so giving game, you know, hair size, you know, all of that. It's all there, even, you know, being assigned your own color. Half pipe going on down to the dorm rooms. You know, did your big brother send you over here? I don't have time for children's games. You're so small, I probably break you in two. Like, the fact that we had the first woman willing to sleep with him. Did you go over yet? Are you a gamma man yet? Come back to me when you are a gamma man and I will definitely sleep with you then. So blindsided at the thought of hopefully going over and getting a taste of what it feels to be a gamma man. I'm finally gonna be a real man that he cannot even think about anything else. This will be completely life-altering for me. I felt like Dean, Big Brother Almighty, was low-key the hardest on him because he saw a little bit of himself in somebody like Half Pint. If I go over, I'm adorned, respected, there are opportunities, and I finally get to hold my head up as a man. But we still have to pass the business, getting into pass the P conversation along with his fellow pledges. Once he fails to connect with anybody at the dorm and has yet to get it with a freak, we have them, you know, discuss, here, take this $5, buy a kitten, put it in front of Dean, Big Brother Almighty's door with a note that says, pass the pussy. I never paid attention to that before and what that meant for Jane. I never paid attention to Half Pipe doing that, or, you know, we never actually saw him do it in the movie, and I just found it to be funny. But if we actually did that and there was, you know, this note as to say, help your fellow future frat out, you know, take one for the team, and that was his excuse to pass along Jane, tired, like absolutely tired. You know, of course we get into a whole shitload of misogyny in this movie, but I never paid attention that it was the fellow frat and pledges who were just like, oh, you're not about to jeopardize our opportunity to go over. If you can't find a freak, maybe our Big Brother Dean Almighty will do you a solid. Did they think this solid was going to be Jane? Absolutely not. Now, just because I don't want to skip over it because it's not as focused in the movie like everything else, but Dap in his whole situation with the dean about to be expelled, you know, him intruding on the parade, wanting to, you know, push yet again for that apartheid.
Yo, man, whoever said that ain't got no mother, man. Like,
kind of just, you know, stirring up controversy the way that he knows how, but he is trying to do it for a good cause. But what he is doing is considered to be subtracting from the schools. Of course, we have frats, football team, sports, band, things that bring money into the school, always, you know, uplifted. If there is anything happening, you know, we have a couple of slaps on the wrist. Behaviors or maybe even grades are excused because of the class of the students. Whereas we have Dap, who is simply trying to hold them accountable by any means necessary. He is seen as a nuisance and is immediately trying to discard him. But on the other hand, you have Ozzy Davis. Do you want me to lose my job? Like, it is all about sports. We need you to get people to join these fraternities. We need you to get people on the field. We need to win those games. This is how we bring money in. Dap, go sit in the corner.
Gamma queen, she's so fine. Gamma queen, blow my mind.
Nobody was more brainwashed than Miss Jane Tucson. Give it up for Tisha. Give it up for Tisha Campbell. Oh my, Tisha said, you know what? I'm 19, 20, fresh off a little shop of horrors. I'm fresh off of that. This is my first real breakout movie role, and I'm about to show up. The role that was meant for Miss Vanessa L. Williams, but she really didn't want it, and Spike also felt like Tisha had the stronger vocals. Wow, Tisha, like, I think when people often speak of her career, because this movie was so early on, people forget that this was her. This was her. I don't want to be alone tonight. It was all her. Like, we are gonna cook the food, we are gonna clean the frat house, and we are gonna give the party. Why are you always complaining, Miriam? This is for G5G. Like, when I tell you Jane was hopelessly devoted, harder than Sandy in Grease, she was so eager to adjust and change herself for somebody like Julian. Hang on and live by his every single word. Because she thought showing how unflinching she is and how devoted she was to black and silver, Julian and the gamma rays would keep him closest to her, when this was probably the one thing that drove his little narcissistic, massaging, manipulating ass away. But we disguise it as, you know, Jane is just too young acting. Devoted to the gamma rays and Gamma Phi Gamma, the first to jump in and defend Julian against DAP or anybody else who threatens what she feels like they represent as a unit. Even the fellow gamma rays who feel like they are constantly in roles of servitude when it comes to G5G. As far as Jane was concerned, Julian was her end-all to be-all, her forever. And as long as she was giving Julian what he needed, I thought if I gave him what he needed, he'd give me what I needed. No, Angela. Julian did not operate that way. It was so easy for him to drop Jane like a bad habit. Not only drop her, but pass her along to the rest of the frat as if she was nothing. We gonna come back to that. Blue contact lenses. It ain't real. Girl, what you say? You heard. It ain't even real. Girl, you wish you had hair like this. We get into the age-old discussion of good and bad hair. Oh, I love the way that we go about it here. The fact that this movie is part musical just adds to it so much more. We could have had, you know, that brief conversation in the hallway. I've been watching you look at Julian. If that was true, he wasn't much to look at. But to display their animosity and indifference towards each other just based on skin color and hair texture through dance, I mean 1940s tap dance, Alvin Ailey, Cab Calloway, big band, skibbity boo boo bop bop, scat dance, like it was everything. The sequence is pretty long, but it is oh so worth it just to see them bask and dance in their glory with them, you know, going back and forth. The colors are so vibrant. The cinematography in this movie is bomb. I just love the sequence. Everything. You're only good for one thing. If you get a lick back, you'll spring. And then don't your hair stand on high. You can comb it in, don't you try. Don't you know my hair is so strong? It can break the teeth out the comb. I don't have to put up at night. What you gotta keep out upside. Well, you got nappy hair. Bam! Nappy's alright with me. My hair is straight, you see. Your soul's crooked as can be. Your hair ain't no longer than ow, so you never fling it all back. The wannabes mostly consist of light-skinned gamma rays. We have longer, you know, fine texture, straighter hair. That's whether this is from birth, whether it was relaxed, or whether we have, you know, a couple of pieces thrown in for good measures of weave for length and volume. But none of the wannabes have taken it as far as Jane. Not only does she stand out as Queen Gamma, but she has bleach blonde Barbie hair and she wears blue contact lenses, almost to say I'm trying to get as far away from my blackness as possible. And why not? Because every single person on this campus outside of the jigaboos treat me as the epitome of beauty, especially when we come into who we love the most, the G5G. You ain't complaining about the gamma rays because you got the best looking one. You have the finest one. She is considered to be everything because she is the closest to the white aesthetic on an all-black campus. Whereas we get into the jigaboos, being on the complete opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to a gamma ray are gametes or even G5G, they are considered ugly. Not only are most of you dark-skinned, but you have the nerve to walk around campus proudly with your natural hair super coily. You have the nerve to wear your hair the same texture that it grows out of your head naturally from birth. Girl, what's wrong with you? Don't you wish you had hair like this? Then the boys might give you a kiss. Talk about nothing but bliss. Like, you are the furthest away from what we assume to be the standard of beauty. There is so much judgment to be had and placed on opposite party. Girl, you better get out of my face. Knock her down. Like, everybody is just so mad, especially when it comes to our leads, Jane and Rachel, when they had so much in common. I wanna let you know I'm not just for show. Either you let me go. Wow, all that good stuff. No, baby. Bam, bam, don't leave me here overnight. Jasmine was getting it on them stairs. The four ladies were getting it on those steps. Tisha was messed. Like, I don't know why this has not made its way to be somebody's Broadway musical by now. Like, the choreography, the dancing, the dresses that can still be worn right now were absolutely everything. Such a strong performance from Tisha. But in listening to I Don't Want to Be Alone Tonight, you would think that it's just pertaining to Jane's character in a relationship that she has with Julian. That song went for Rachel also. Rachel skipping going out with her friends who were absolutely haters because your face is cracked and on the ground. All the females in the dorms. Rachel's immediate roommates, you know, Julian and whatnot, they were all types of haters. I bet you he's sneaking. But outside of that, her sidelining something like the Carnation just because Dap didn't want to attend and he was going to be out speaking to the people. Even when the movie starts, he is not making an effort to spend any type of time with Rachel, or her beelining wanting to maybe pledge for 4 years of, you know, their college education and relationship because she was so concerned of how it would make him feel and what he would think about it. He often neglects Rachel and doesn't make time for her. It's all about Dab's agenda. Though it may be, you know, a positive one, he makes time for that. The only time we make time for Rachel is in the bedroom. I missed all of that before. I absolutely missed all of that. Just getting into him only, like, they only want one thing, girl, the panties. Like, that was directed at Dap for a reason. The only time in this movie, all the way to the end, that he made an initial effort to give time to Rachel was to get some. College life has definitely had an effect on Dap and made him change. It's really understated in the movie and you will miss it if you don't pay attention, but Dap and Julian were friends, really good friends before Julian pledged, which is why he has so much animosity towards him in the movie. This is not how you were before. He associates, you know, pledging with all things negative. He changed. Daryl is changing, and you will change too if and when you decide to pledge, you know, lashing out at her, and this causes her to have a complex. You know, I've often wondered, if you only solely date me because I'm one of the darkest sisters on this campus and this is more about your image, majority of our relationship is about you, your beliefs, and what you think we should be doing. Not much unlike Jane and Julian. But getting back into the love scenes, but how many times tore it up on them steps? Time, places, than where you were, singing that good old Stevie Wonder song. Yet who's, I can't be singing this whole time. But getting into that love scene, I always used to run that scene back. I wasn't peeking or nothing. Or maybe I was, because she was getting it out. Even though it is filmed to look really alluring and beautiful, the way that they are engaging and intertwining with each other, I always wondered why Spike Lee chose to incorporate that love scene where you see Rachel's body, you know, very sweaty, very dark, you know, she is really, you know, sexual at that moment, in comparison with, you know, Miss Mission, this light-skinned beauty queen being crowned. It was definitely giving dark-skinned women, you know, black women only being good for one thing, you know, the whole freak in the sheets mentality. We have this dark-skinned, beautiful woman. She is sexual, but she is being adorned and loved and desired between the sheets for that. Whereas we have this beauty queen, she is being loved and adorned for a complete opposite reason. It's for her, you know, regal beauty, her presence, her essence, and she is being crowned in comparison to Rachel, who can only seem to get attention from Dap from behind closed doors. And just even speaking on their sex in comparison to James and Julian, it is filled with them loving each other. Even though Rachel is on top, you don't see her as being dominant or either one of them being really submissive. You can tell that they both respect and love each other equally, and that it's more of a partnership. Even though Dap is, you know, being Dap, in that particular moment, it's, you know, a team loving effort. Child, when we get into I always wanted to be your perfect match, ooh, ah. Jane is super duper submissive in the bedroom when it comes to Julian. Licking the part in the middle of his head, child, the grease, the all, the Cantu that must have been there. Like, Jane is almost entranced, whether we are licking his part, licking, you know, the branding from G5G that is on his chest, the way that he smothers and covers her entire body. Jane just looks so much like some temporary fixture, a moment, you know, some fake vessel until he gets to where he needs to be. She just feels like she is sharing herself, her body, her everything with her lifelong love and partner. Meanwhile, for Julian, it's a Tuesday. Now, though I love this movie, it can begin to feel a little winded. I do feel like Spike could have shaved off a good 20, 25, 30 minutes of this movie and we would have still been okay. Like, I love the whole scene of them going back to the dorm and Dap is there with his friends. Like, are you guys gonna go with me to the parade? Are you gonna push? Are you gonna protest? Who cares about being expelled? Like, you suckers want an education? Hell yeah! I love the way, you know, his friends respectfully declined it. Low-key feel like, is it so bad to want a Brooks Brothers suit? I do want to make something of myself, and I'm not willing to sacrifice that for anybody. For many of them here on campus, especially transitioning from where we were, this is, you know, the late 80s. A lot of us will be the first in our families and generation to graduate or even just, you know, go to college. This is really important. My family has sacrificed a lot. You know, we saved a lot. A lot of us, like, you know, Bill Nunn, we are here on football scholarships and you want us to drop that. I believe the school should divest, but what you are asking us to do is too much. But we just want to know, do revolutionaries eat Kentucky Fried Chicken? Like, I love that whole dynamic. But once we get into scenes, you know, with Samuel L. Jackson, the whole Jerry Curl gang, what time is it? Like, those are moments of Spike being Spike and incorporating things that he wants to say, narratives that he wants to push and come across that don't really tie in all that well with the story. You know, we was born here, live here, and gonna die here, but you mission punks are taking all the jobs. You know, no matter what you do, you still gonna be a nigga. That whole thing of not really applying yourself, of course, you are dissatisfied because you feel like you are having a hard time finding a job, but you have brothers here who are getting an education and they have a greater chance of getting said job, but you want to hate on me for it, yet you don't value getting a higher education, because at the end of the day, I'm still going to be an N-word. But yeah, you can have it both ways. If you want to, you know, reach higher achievements, then you have to apply yourself just like me, and don't hate on me for doing so. But with that whole thing, I felt like we kind of wasted a little time there, and us, of course, transitioning into, you're gonna make sure half pint goes over. Really raising the tension between the wannabes and the jigaboos and whatnot. For punks we are, yes. For gammas, good God, yes. When I say gamma, you say gamma, gamma. When I say gamma, you say gamma, 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 gamma. Okay, let's get out of here, fellas. Daddy long strokes. I can't even say the word. Like, oh, they were going ham with the F word in the disrespect that they had for the gammas. It's all the way to the step show that seems to go on forever, even though the steps and the animosity was absolutely everything, or even the fight that breaks out that moment that was not planned and was an actual real fight, because Spike Lee was sitting up here giving these people different treatment just to really create that heightened realistic tension on set. We had, you know, the jigaboos and whatnot, Sting, and, you know, it was accommodating, but it wasn't all that. Whereas we had the wannabes, child, we had real good treatment, real nice room, hotels, trailers, and the whole nine. So when we had a fight break out, he just said, keep rolling. But outside of me just loving the gamma steps and whatnot, the most that I took out of that scene was validation for how I felt about Rachel and Gab's relationship all along. Once he is forgiven and she is drying him off, he, you know, tries to embrace her and approach her, and it's just like, the ladies, the friends, my homegirls were right. You only really always want one thing from me. It's just like, no, I'll be cool. And it's just confirmation of, can you just hold me? Can we just lay here? Can we do something other than sleep together? Sweat, sweat blood, a sweat blood, a sweat blood, until you sweat blood and tears. Gamma! We get to the very ending and our guys are about to finally go over. They are holding up those lanterns for dear life. He can't hold it, Julian. He's too little. Like, they were absolutely doing the most, really pressing these men the entirety of this little homecoming weekend, trying to get somebody to drop the lantern. We even see them have to go through eating dog food and other hazing rituals, from feeling like they're touching poop to being paddled. But this is the final hour, and we do have all of them, including Half Pint Gamma, go over. I finally made it over. Put a pin in that. I took that girl out on the floor. Ow! She rocked me from the backside. She did the butt till it made me sore. Hey, it's a physical thing, but not hard to do. You just shake, shake, shake it, shake, 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 shake it. Doing the butt all night through. Yeah, doing the butt. Aye, butte, butte. And when you get that notion, I was having a good time. The party with, you know, the swimsuits and the doing the butt was absolutely everything. I even love Bill Nunn in that moment. He doesn't get a whole lot of shine in the Friends group. You know, in this movie, there are so many stars and stars in the making in this movie. From, you know, people that Spike Lee worked with later, like Rusty Khadif, even going into James Bond III, who did Death by Temptation. Check out my review on that. Just so much family and community here in this movie. But when you give Bill Nunn a moment in your movie to shine, he is going to do it every time. R.I.P. to him. I love his on-screen presence. You know what I thought about when I seen you, baby? Collard greens and cornbreads. I ain't gonna lie, you got one of them in the midnight hour bodies. Like, what you is, a Virgo? No, you a Capricorn. He just knew he was gonna get some. That's all he wanted to do the entire movie. But when we get back into Gamma Phi Gamma in those gamma rays, after that beautiful regal performance from the one and only Phyllis Hyman, like, oh, I love her. I love her so much, and it is just such a Spike Lee thing to have her here in this movie. Him being in love with, you know, those older artists like a Billie Holiday, just those sultry old school jazz nightclub is like strong, bold voice singers. She fits the bill so much to be here in that scene. As with that $5 in the beginning of the movie, Julian has pledged Half Pint, and he now sees him as a brother who needs to still lose his virginity. Why not kill two birds with one stone? getting him to lose his virginity and getting rid of Jane at the very same time. Mind you, this was all a part of his plan. He had Jasmine Guy in the wings waiting, which is why when we woke up, she was in the bed next to him. The misogynoir, the narcissism, the manipulating, like all of those terms that we love from today, Julian was the whole OG. The fact that he is thinking, I am going to give you a gift, I am going to give you Jane because she is just that freaking disposable. Of course, Half Pint is embarrassed, uncomfortable, and so is Jane. She feels betrayed, she feels hurt. If you really love me the way that you say you do, how could you do this? And why would you even think that this was okay? Because we get into that peer pressure, that loss of yourself as an individual. Not only did Julian think it was okay, but the entire frat thought that it was okay and something to laugh at, that Jane was being treated that way. Even down to the point that our newly found Gamma Half Pint, who has been being brainwashed this entire movie, is beginning to believe the hype, especially when he gets that confirmation from Jane after he tells her, you don't have to do this, girl. You're your own woman. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Shut up and take your clothes off. I have to do this. If I don't do this, I risk losing Julian. He was absolutely everything to Jane, to the point that she was willing to give her body. And even getting into more of that peer pressure, we have Half Pint. All of these things that I have done to prove myself in the 6 weeks that I have been trying to be over, get, in the line, I'm still considered less than and unworthy as a Gamma man, even though I went over, because I am still a virgin. So not only do we do it, but when we come out, we feeling ourselves. We're gloating a little bit, Y'all relax. I'll tell you all the details later. Let me walk Jane to her car. Ciao. Like, I feel like gaslighting should have a picture of Jane next to it, because wow, I had never seen anybody be gaslit so hard up until a point, until something like this movie. Like, you did it, but Julian, you told me to. Like, no, this was a test and you failed, Jane. Like, he gaslit her so hard when you could have just said, I don't want to be with you anymore. you know that this isn't working. But it wasn't just solely about gaslighting her or just breaking up with her. He wanted to diminish Jane and diminish her status as, Queen Gamma, her being the most attractive and, the most wanted female on campus, because everybody wanted her and thought she was everything, not only because, that blonde hair and those blue eyes, but because of her status next to me. So not only have I knocked her off of her pedestal, but if I was willing to toss her to the likes of a Half Pint, Gamma Queen, Gamma Who, how much of a prize could she really be? None of the other Gammites or Gamma G5Gs would look at her in that desired light too much longer. Child, when Half Pint rolls up at the end of the movie to let Dap know that he has gone over and he's no longer a virgin, though it is sick the way that he is going about it and the excitement that he has that, not only am I a Gamma, but I'm no longer a virgin. I got Jane, I pleased her, she did Gamma man should, like what are you talking about? Dap is just in complete disbelief. Like, do you hear yourself? It's just like, woo, 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 Gamma. Like, he is just gone. He is absolutely gone. Don't reek with this. I just got this. He has on blinders as to what this Gamma symbolizes for him. Who gives a damn about Jane? That's what she is supposed to do. Look at who I am. Look at, what I'm wearing. This means something. I am a Gamma man. That was her duty. Absolutely sick. This sickens Dap to the point that, all of this is too much. All of us, we all need to wake up from how we are mistreating each other on a daily basis. I hope he, tossed himself in there as well. But I just absolutely love the way that the scene plays out. Laurence Fishburne up there yelling, "White God!" Like, he is in cold-blooded sweat. Like, I'm yelling to the top of my lungs. It's giving, you know, it's important, the urgency, the light finally shining through. That was the most sun that we saw in the movie the entire time. Everybody like, I'm slapping it, wake up. Like, I need you guys to wake up. This is a nightmare, the way that we are going about treating each other, discarding, disrespecting. Like, it's crazy. We don't need to do this. I need everybody to wake up, just screaming, everybody walking out in slow motion as the jazz and the score plays and crescendos in the background. It's just oh so beautiful. Of course, we have Julian's ass be the last to wake up next to Jasmine Guy. He wakes up and, you know, we have them turn to the camera as to say, this is a message. We need all of you to wake up. I think it's one of Spike Lee's better endings. Of course, we have this one in comparison to something like Jungle Fever. No, like, that one, you know, is a little off, but I think this one sticks a whole lot, and it still rings true, and it holds so much leverage even till this day. There is never going to be a moment where school days and waking up is not relevant. Well, you guys, that was my review for School Daze. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down and tell me if you did. What is your favorite scene or quote from this movie? Did you learn anything new here from watching my review? Do you have anything to add? Did I miss some stuff? You guys know I love reading a good comment. But thank you so much for watching this video. I see you guys next time for my next review. Be sure, y'all know I'm struggling right now. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, because all of those things help me and really push my videos. I see you guys next time. Bye.